Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The podcast is available bi-weekly where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also get it from our website at scalemodelpodcast.com, where you can find show notes, photo gallery, and so much more. You can also subscribe to get notifications on all our updates, new episodes, and video content. Please support the Scale Model Podcast on Patreon. Patreon supporters enjoy early access to content and exclusive contests. Your Patreon support helps us to offset hosting and other costs to bring the podcast to you. Welcome to episode 107 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by cult TV band Sean's Custom Model Tools and Return to Kit Form. My name is Stuart Clark. Our regular whipping boy / partner in crime, Jeff's away this week. He's saving the day yet again. You know, at least that's what he thinks he's doing, but that's fine. But we are joined once again from the terror of the Midwest, from just northwest of Chicagoland, where the sun always shines, the snow always blows, etc., etc. Mr. Terry Measley, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. I would like sun and snow. All we pretty much had is wintry mix.
Yeah, it's
the delicious sounding wintry mix.
Yeah, thank you for sending that, by the way. We really appreciate it. And, you know, especially my other guest tonight. Well, he's not really a guest. He's part of the family. Back for a return engagement from his round the world tour of Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. It's Mr. Anthony Goodman. How are you, sir?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm back from the dead.
Yeah, you're alive. That's good.
Yeah.
Your wonderful wife hasn't killed you yet, so that's good.
No, we seem to be doing okay there. Yeah, it's great to be on. It's been a while, eh? It's been a minute, boys.
I know. That's all right. We are always happy to have you on, especially for our year-end show. So just a brief programming note, there will be no podcast in 2 weeks because, you know, we are taking the holidays off, which is always good. Perfect. So, all right, let's get started. I first want to thank our latest Patreon supporter, Paul de Orville. I believe he's out of Australia because the money came in Australian funds. So thank you once again for your support of the podcast. It does help us with show costs, hosting costs, stuff like that. All right, latest news. And Terry, I think, threw this one up. How could I forget about this? This is terrible.
How can you forget about the annual 24-hour model build that comes up in January?
The 17th annual.
Yeah, how about that?
That's fun.
So are you planning to put something in, Terry?
I don't know. I might do something.
It's
one of those you got to think pretty hard about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You got to make the right kit choice, right?
It's got to be easy to build. You can't spend time filling it.
Not something you love too much, so that you don't feel that crazy sense of burning investment.
Yep,
exactly.
But there's already a lot of people have been posting on the Facebook page for their builds they're going to do.
That's fun.
Yep. Blappy kind of reminded me about that, so I just saw it pop up, and we'll see.
All sorts of custom work. Some guy's going to do a Bronco, and he's 3D printing wheels and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check him out on the Facebook page. Always a good time there. Okay, and we also have Anthony's is also here for another reason.
That's
Anthony,
right.
Tell us.
Okay, so I think the last time I was on, we hinted about a big giveaway, and I wanted to stay away long enough for everyone to forget about it. So here it is. It's the big super secret 100th anniversary surprise giveaway. So you guys celebrated your 100th episode, right? Back in, oh boy, seems like forever ago now. Just the right time to drop these prizes on you. So we have 8 prizes. 8 awesome prizes from Sean's Custom Model Tools, sponsored by me, Goodman Models. We've got super sanding block sets. We've got, let me just rustle through the box here. Holy moly. This is the biggest giveaway I've ever been involved in. We have a value pack combo, so you get a super stand in that one. We've got 2 of these guys. This is the wet sanding tub combo. So you get the super sanding block set and you get the wet sanding tub, which is
cool.
a newer product from Sean. That was a really neat idea. So there's going to be a ton of those. All you have to do, and you can do it now as you hear this, submit your work, your work in progress photo, your whip photo to where, Stu?
scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com.
You do that, you're entered into the super secret 100th anniversary surprise giveaway. And it's so super and so secret, you don't even know what prize you're going to get. It's just going to show up and you're going to open it.
How awesome is that?
Blow your mind. Right? And then there's going to be more draws to come. So stay tuned.
Very cool. All right, there we go. Of course, brought to you by Sean's Custom Model Tools and sponsored by GoodmanModels.com. That name sounds familiar. Go figure.
There's like nothing on that. I've been trying to rebuild the site. And it's just like I think I put like an under construction. And,
well, that's all right.
It still exists though.
That's all right. That's all right. So, no, we're looking forward to having a good show. We're having our guest. I just sent an email back. I heard back from him. Somehow we got our signals crossed on time zones. So he's going to try and join us at 9. I've asked him to. So, all right. So lots of new announcements. So let's start with the Tamiya announcements for January. They've got some, they got a couple interesting things I saw last week. They got some tools. They've got now in part of their lacquer series. So they had these and I didn't quite get it because they had blue, red, and yellow, but these are designed for mixing. These are primary colors with a solely blue pigment, contains minimal cloudiness when mixed, and recommend for making your own custom hues.
Really?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
The primary colors. So yeah.
Huh.
LP 81, 82, 83. The fact that they're up to 83 lacquer colors shows you how popular the line's been already.
I have no doubt it's quality paint, but I was wondering about, because I already mix often.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this, Terry? Do you need a primary base color?
I mean, it takes you back to art class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Art school, mixing up your paints.
Mm-hmm.
They're the lacquers, so they should be good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they definitely think there's a market for it, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, be interesting to see. I wonder how much.
Investigate that if I think about it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm wondering with the yellow, because I do a lot of prop tips, and up to now you normally have, you have to put like a pink primer or something to really get a good yellow. I wonder if this would be any better. So we'll have to see what happens. So
well, I think you're right about the pink primer really makes it rich.
Yeah. But I wonder if this will work without the primer. Kind of reminds me of some of the paint for the minis lines, like Games Workshops and that. Some of these companies now, I think Vallejo too, they have like a one coat paint now. Like it's extra, not thick, but just the idea is for speed painting. You don't need to put 2 coats on. So I'm wondering if this will be similar to it. So, yep, they've also got 4 new modeling brushes from small, fine, extra fine, and ultra fine. Okay,
nice. Those would look good.
Yeah, they'll look good. So that's from our good friends at Tamiya. Hasegawa, they have their December releases. A couple of repops, a couple of new things. So we basically have, what do we have here? We have an F-15J Eagle, a KI-49, their Osprey, bunch of cars. We did talk about the Lightning 2 and the Aggressor's markings a while back.
Yep,
and there's this one,
the 72nd scale version of it.
Yep.
It's not the.
And then there's one here called Walker Machine Iron Gear. Looks like something from an anime part. Yeah, Animation Walker Machine X Zabungle.
Oh, I think it's Zabungle.
Zabungle? Okay.
Yeah, that's like a pretty classic 80s Japanese anime. So
it looks like a those mechs. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some really wild designs, but to be honest, I've never seen it. But I'd be curious about it for sure. Just got really like that period in the animation.
80s are definitely coming back. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's from Hasegawa, and then also on the sci-fi realm from Fantastic Plastic, their latest classic rocket ship series. They're really kind of going way back when. This is from a book, Lester Del Rey's Rocket Journey, 1 to 288. It was a old classic book. I remember reading that years ago, 1952, juvenile sci-fi novel. So it's a traditional winged bullet. So definitely, something you could have fun with. You could do some other work with it.
Yeah, that leaves a lot of. It's a very fairly simple design. So you could do some scribing details or.
Yep, the price point's good. $45 plus shipping.
Yeah,
5 inches. Yep, 8 pieces, 1 to 288. Pattern and casting by Millennium Models International. So
definitely a throwback kind
yep.
of thing.
Nostalgia selling. That's what we're saying. So
yeah.
All right. So also, Special Hobby announced they're going to do a re-release, of their Henkel 177A and 148. So this is going to be a big beast. They're saying it's one of the more popular kits people are always asking about. So they're doing part of the original molding, but they're also doing 3D milled some replacement parts. They will offer small parts in a much higher quality compared to the original parts. And again, some nice screenshots there. Now, Terry, you said you have one of these you won at a raffle?
Yeah, I have a 177.
Yeah.
I have the it was released as, I think, MPM initially.
Right.
It was one of the flood kits. So
right.
It's just the kit. It's in a bag right now.
Right.
I wanted it at a raffle. I'm not. I don't know.
Some of the details and photo etch in that look very nice.
Yeah, they do. I don't think those were original.
No, I don't think so either.
To the kit.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of cool. And then from out of Poland, Lukograph. I saw these just because the engines look just wonderful. So they're working on their first flying boat, the Lornier Type L 132 and 148 scales. So I put 2 links in the show notes there. I thought, yeah, I did. The first one goes to the Facebook page showing the engines built up and painted. And the second one showing the kit. It's a very nice looking, attractive single engine float plane. 160 euros for the 132nd on pre-order, or 109 euros for the 148th.
So they have so much stuff. Luke Graf.
Oh, they do so many nice things. Yeah.
Where are they from?
Exactly. Poland.
Yeah,
they're out of Poland. Yeah, no, they've been
it's worth just looking through if you like any of the biplanes for the most part.
Oh yeah.
They have the de Havilland Dragonfly. We talked about that one before. Yeah, a lot of nice stuff.
Have you guys ever seen one of these up close?
I haven't. I'm tempted to get a Dragonfly or that Dragon Rapide, just to see it.
Like kind of how close.
The Dragon Rapide's 150 euros for about 150 bucks. So it's
so about one.
It's kind of an expensive just have a look at.
Yeah, I wonder how these stack up against the old Wingnut Wings kits for fans of this period, right? Like this could be the new to fill that gap, right?
Yeah, I engineering wise, I think Wingnuts is second to none.
Yeah,
but as resin kits, these are. They rival injection molded as far as that goes. Plus, you get a bunch of 3D printed stuff now that was like the engines and such that just, those cost as much as the rest of the kit to cast that kind of detail and in the engines and that sort of thing, seats and all that. Because the waste from the molds and the waste from casting is so high. So this makes a lot of sense.
That's what caught my eye. Yeah, looking at the engines.
Just print it.
Yeah. The engines just look absolutely gorgeous. They look like they could be a wonderful kit on their own. The engine there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. You can't go wrong with that. So, yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. Okay.
Yeah, Luke Graf.
Yep.
Very interesting. I'd love to hear if anybody's built any of them.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to keep our eyes open at Heritage Con when we check the tables a bit closer. You never know. We may have seen one already. We just didn't realize.
Or, hey, listeners, if you're working on one of these or if you've already built one, please post them to the Facebook page for SIP.
Yep, send us a post so we can have a look and drool. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, the next news from Round 2 Models. This will make a lot of car and truck guys happy. AMT's announcing from Round 2 the old style Chevy 1500 and 3500 pickup trucks, 125th scale.
These are awesome. I'm a big Chevy fan.
Yeah, the old body style Chevy trucks are coming to AMT next year. The first test shots here.
Awesome.
You got the 1500 short bed and the 3500 dually.
Never thought about building truck models. Oh no. I sure like driving the real ones.
Yeah, there you go. So and it's less on gas.
Yeah. It's not covered in rust.
No, it's not covered in rust. But you could make yours and do the appropriate amounts. Quarter 2 2023 for the 1500, and the 3500 is going to follow several months after. And just a reminder, kids, these are the mock-up samples. No rivet counting yet, please.
So these are like new kits, not just bringing back an old.
Yeah, they've taken
release.
some of the, what did they say here? Using the original AMT promos as starting points, we've replicated. Yeah, so they've started it, and then they're putting the newer designs into them and the newer quality molds.
And that's fair. Yeah, because if you have a nice crisp mold to shoot the plastic into, and whatever update details, wheels and whatnot. It'll be great.
It'll be interesting to see what some of the aftermarket guys do for like beds and other things you can put in there. So no, that's going to be nice. Like I said, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of once these are announced, there's going to be a lot of interest in that. So, all right, and then we move from reality to a bit of fantasy. Another paper tank. Paper Panzer from the pages of history and also from World of Warcraft. Not World of Warcraft, God, World of Tanks. This is TACOM's 135th 150-ton OI super heavy tank with not one, not two, not three, but 4 guns. Count them, kids. Metal barrels for them all. Lots of sprues, lots of tracks, lots of guns. It's a big beastie.
It is.
Yeah, the metal barrels are nice. Hollowed muzzled ends.
It's like 10 times bigger than anything they actually ran.
Yeah, or anything that you could actually make and use in the field.
Yeah, this kit will produce quite a large land battleship.
Did they actually have any legitimate super heavy tank or heavy tanks?
No,
they didn't even have heavy tanks, did they?
This is all paper.
Japanese? No.
Yeah. They had a lot of light tanks, and I don't know what
even the ones the Soviets and the Americans played with, they weren't practical.
They're just not. No.
What was the American one that they had to? It had 2 sets of tracks and had to remove one set of tracks so it could go over bridges or something.
Well,
they were too wide. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I think the German one had something similar, but just they were playing around with the concept, right? I suppose the closest thing is like a slightly more mobile railway gun. Really,
yeah.
In some cases of this, but
they probably didn't know exactly what they needed right at the time.
Yeah,
they're just trying to figure out which way they needed to go.
Yeah,
that's a pretty wild looking. Just seeing some of the line drawings at the bottom, it's a pretty wild looking tank. Yeah,
a lot of experimentation there and stuff like that. So, as I said, and TACOM, they also have released a bunch of other ones. They've got a couple of German super heavies and moderately super heavies, et cetera, et cetera. So, let's see. All right, next up, our good friends at Barracuda Studios. They're always doing amazing things. So these are 3D printed and grained resin, 72nd scale Spitfire 5B and 5C corrected spinners for the Airfix kit. Again, just enough if you know what you're looking for, you know what's wrong.
People know, right, for Spitfires.
Yeah, I know.
This is pretty good.
I can see the difference.
For the different props.
I can see the difference. Yeah.
Once you know,
a lot of people too, like this bird is so iconic. It's on the top list of a lot of model builders, right? I like the pricing.
Yep.
Right, 72nd scale corrected spinner, $695. I don't know if that's American, but
this will be American.
Yeah. So there's it's not a lot of barrier to kind of getting that perfect.
No, if you want to make it prettier. Falkworth 190 wheels, various wheels. This one I like because I picked up, even though I swore I'd never build another 72nd World War II fighter for a while. I was in Brofdale's a couple of months ago, and Richard somehow waved his magic wand, and I ended up
sees you coming down the street.
God damn it! So I did pick up Airfix's newest 72nd, the Hawker Tempest Mark IV or Mark V. I did an inbox review. It's actually a very nice kit. In that scale, but this is if you want to make it just a little bit more special. The radiator in particular, it looks really good because then that really stands out. And the spinner definitely. A lot of people were saying it looked a little bit too long, and it does. But the Barracuda cast one looks really nice, so that's a nice one. So that's a set, something to think about. Again,
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have the BAC Lightning landing gear set in 1/72nd scale. For the Airfix again, we have for the F4, the U.S. Navy 1/32nd scale Phantom, the rudder pedals. again, because that's for the Tamiya F4 Navy.
So now I gotta ask, because it's Tamiya, is this necessary? Are they really not that sharp?
I haven't seen the Tamiya Phantom, the 32nd, but they obviously feel it is. And again, it's pretty open, right? Like it's, the F4, those big kits.
There's also multiple types.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay. So
there's a Navy one, there's an Air Force one. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then a Skyhawk 32nd scale, the A4, the 20 millimeter cannon barrels.
Yeah.
For the IA. This is for most A4Cs and later, with the exception of the IAF aircraft, which had different ones. So yeah, definitely some more cool stuff happening there.
Those are really slick.
Yeah, Barracuda's got so many good things.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong.
Yeah, really, actually,
if you're doing any project, it's always worth checking out, seeing what they've
exactly. Actually, I just had a quick peek at Barracuda's main website. They've also just announced for the 132nd scale to convert your New Zealand. You can convert your A4E and F to the RN Royal New Zealand Air Force, the Kahoo as they called it, cockpit upgrades, because they actually bought a bunch of old Skyhawks and they used them for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And it's a very popular. It's a nice looking bird with that one. So if you want to build something in 32nd scale, there you go.
Classic. Yeah, that's
$21. $21 for a 32nd, and it comes with a lot of stuff. It comes with the tail, the nose, a lot of stuff. So yeah, that looks very nice too. So well done, our good friends at Barracuda.
Yeah, I love getting conversion kits that, I don't know, but the average model out there, or you listeners, if it's usually you get like the one or two kind of main or notable liveries in a kit, but I always kind of see these other things, right? These other things that catch your eye, and you're like, it's maybe an air show or just some picture in a magazine or whatever that you're like, oh, I wish I could build that, but it's always so much work if you were kind of left to your own devices to get it done. But it's great when there's little kits, because there's still enough challenge there for the model build, but not that you're getting into like a slugfest where it's going to take forever. So yeah, kudos to Barracuda for getting those conversion kits.
Some of those things like the spinners, different props use different spinners, and in World War II, I know a lot, like the number of propellers that were put on Mustangs and P-47s. Each of them had like 5 or 6. Wow. Depending on when it was out, what model engine it had, and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's fun stuff too.
Pictures are your best. You need your picture, and I did that with the Airfix P40. I did in very early P40, and still had the aluminum prop, the hollow aluminum prop, and it looks distinctly different.
And were you able to find a conversion kit? I think
it was either Ultracast or Barracuda. I forget which.
Perfect. Well, both great companies for coming up with parts, right? But there you go, and that's another really neat thing to bring out to the hobby shows. You get to see something a little different than the box art one, which is nothing wrong with that. But it's cool to see something going a little different direction.
Yeah, and some of those things don't take that much effort, especially when you have a decal set or something for markings. Like, it used an uncuffed prop. I guess I have to do that. But that's all you had to do. You aren't going to go through a lot of effort, but
yeah.
Something different. Something different. It's always eye-catching.
Always good. Okay, special hobbies. I like special hobbies because they do a lot of emails. They don't just rely on Facebook. They update the site. They send weekly emails. I like these guys, so I promote them as much as I can. They did kind of their end of the year newsletter. So it's interesting, as they say, we do live in a rather interesting time now. And even though 2022 has been a bit turbulent, it's apparently for them, it did not have an impact on the sales of their kits. In this year's new releases sold simply like hotcakes. So here's the top 10. Most of these are in 72nd, unless I say otherwise. The Mirage 3, the Bugatti, that French racer plane. I think that's the one where the pilot sits prone, if I recall. The Ju-87 from the Axis satellite countries, the 109E in the E7 Tropical, the Ki-54 TSU, a gunner trainer, an L4 Grasshopper in 148th, the Ju-87 in night attack options, The AH-1G Cobra over Vietnam with the M35 gun system. That's the high-tech kit. It doesn't list a scale there. What scale? 48th.
Oh.
And then what else? The Short Sutherland, the Flying Porcupine in 172nd to give the artillery and the Airfix a run for its money. And last but not least, the Panhard 178B 47 millimeter gun, late turret. And again, they've talked about the, we already talked about the HE 177 coming out. They're going to do a 2-seater Vigan in 172nd. They're going to do some more resin, etc. So, yeah. And looks like they are going to try and attend the Nuremberg Toy Fair this year. So hopefully we'll hear more in the January newsletter. So, yeah, some very cool things here. So, plus their masks and everything like that. So, kudos to Special Hobbies. Alrighty, moving on. This is yours, Terry, I believe.
Yeah. We found the this Yak 4. It's a light bomber from World War II. It's 45-foot wingspan, so it's not a very big plane. All I have for the kit right now is a link to HLJ. It's from Mars Models, which I found out is I looked into them. Where are they from? I want to say either Ukraine or Poland.
Somewhere European.
Yeah. Mars Models.
Yeah. Anyway, PE2. I thought it was a PE2, right? But no, it's distinctly smaller than a PE2. It's classed as a light bomber in World War II. It looks like many of the other Soviet twin rudder planes. So pretty cool.
Good. Very cool.
Here's a price if anyone's interested in that Yak 4. The Hobby Link Japan has it for $98.64 Canadian dollars. So
that's $72 in real dollars.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the next one, the Halberd. Is this you as well, Terry?
Yes, it is. I know we were just talking about the lack of the catapult planes the week before, and I have a pair of, I think, Cinifer Seahawks in resin in one box. I thought I was buying one. I bought two.
Excellent.
But Halberd does a great job. I really like the conversion stuff I've seen from them, and this is a full kit, both in 32nd and 48th.
I wonder if Kentucky Dave is going to be, or Kentucky, the Mojo guys. They're going to.
I don't know. I check eBay every day to see if it's on Halberd's purchase yet.
Was it Mike? Mike really enjoyed.
Mike
those.
likes the float planes. Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
that is a really cool bird. I don't think I've ever seen this one before.
No, it's a late war float, but they were using the Seagull, the SOC biplane, as scout planes for most of the war.
If
pictures as well. But
if it didn't have markings, if it was just plain, no paint or anything, I'd swear it was a Japanese one. It just is something about it. I think it's the cockpit makes it look like a zero.
You know, by the end of the war, they would have, like the U.S. military would have probably had their hands on quite a few Japanese planes, right?
But just like if you look at it, that side view, if you just take off, it has that little Japanese naval flavor.
It's really neat.
It kind of looks like that because it's small and a single float design.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But just something about it. It's very unique looking.
Is this on your to get list, Terry?
Oh, I will absolutely be getting this.
Yeah, I know you enjoy a good float plane once in a while, right?
Yeah, right. And it prompted me to pull the FM1 Pete Japanese float plane out. Yeah, I've got a Dave around somewhere too.
There you go. See, that'll keep
awesome.
you out of mischief.
Hope it's a nice kit.
I may be done with landing gear. I may stop building retractable landing gear forever now. Just build float planes and fixed pants.
Float planes and fixed plants.
The last two planes I did gear up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
No complaints.
It's nothing. Hey, it's your
stress.
kit. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Okay, what are you saying here in the show notes, Anthony?
Let's see. What do we got? I got nothing new.
No. But you're asking me about a Hawker link.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking
you
about.
did it. You mentioned your inbox link to.
That yes, I will put that in.
I think you should share that
the
far and
Tempest,
wide with our listeners.
Yes, the Tempest.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
See,
because I know you were putting lots of putting lots of updates on Facebook on your page as you were going along there. But throw your video up
videos.
there.
I'll throw that video up. Okay, all right. Now I'm with you. Okay, see, folks, this is how the sausage is made. All right. Coming new from our good friends at Scalemates, because you know nothing new ever comes out. A little slows down a bit at Christmas, I've noticed. But okay, we're going to start out with a company, Ishini Hobbies, and this is, I've been told by my colleagues here pre-show, this is probably from a video game back in the 80s.
Yeah, Zinshi, I think.
Zinshi, okay.
Xinshi.
Yamato, or
Zinshi.
you know, yeah, okay. So one of you give us the score on this. This is like a neat looking stuff here.
Yeah, it's quite a few. Okay, so maybe some listeners might remember. I thought it was a fairly popular video game called Metal Slug. It was definitely Japanese. I want to say early 90s.
Well, it's not just Metal Slug. It looks like it's Metal Slug 3.
This is Metal Slug 3.
And you can still get it on Steam.
Yeah, it's very popular.
I saw that.
You can get it on
I've been looking for a nice shooter.
Yeah,
shooter game. Yeah, so you got to control this neat little tank, a very kind of cartoony, like science fiction-y looking tank. It was a really fun game. Obviously, it has a loyal and enduring fan base, and obviously some sequels. But these are like little kits of various vehicles from Metal Slug 3.
I love it. Well, you know, back to the video game tie-ins, right?
I'm not super familiar, but I bet you a lot of people will know that name. So, Terry, do you have any memories of playing that game, or you recognize these vehicles?
I know of it, and I've seen the little Metal Slug tank kits from the first one, and they're great. They look hilarious.
These are great. Yeah. I love the drill slug. It's got a giant bloody drill and a couple of Gatling guns.
Like, they always had it had these giant like tread. It's like totally cartoony design, right? But it just had a really neat look. It was super fun to play, and it had a Gatling gun tail.
Yep.
Right, and of course it had like a little stubby cannon on the front on the turret, and
they got the sub here. No scale, obviously, but who cares? These look fun.
Yeah,
these look fun.
Yeah, I'd like to see what they are.
Yeah,
actually, go to HLJ and see if they have them.
Yeah, you have to check out. Okay, then Plamax Minimum Factory. I was going to say Putin, but it's not the Russian president. From the next day. Looks like from another series. They're just like weird. Looks like some birds or something not doing well.
I don't know what that's from.
With white heads from Max.
It's got to be a Max Factory. This could be, I think the next few could be characters from various anime. Like IPs, it could be like a mecha or there's so much of that stuff getting put out now, and a lot of IPs are getting a bit of model love because there's just a huge market, I think, for like sort of kind of half model kit, half toy figure kind of kits where you put it together like a 3D puzzle. You've got something to put on top of your desk. It looks like the character from the screen. I think a lot of Good Smile companies doing an awesome job. Like they've been putting out all the Pat Labor kits. I'm a huge fan, and they're really fantastic. Working on one right now.
Now you're saying some of these might be only available in Japan at the moment?
Oh, I was actually talking about the Good Smile kits you can get. Okay. I was referring to Bandai's Gundam kits, which have become very. It's like
those
dark
limited
90s.
edition ones.
We covered that.
Even make it out of the country.
Yeah, we actually covered that story a couple of months ago because again they were getting they had to crack down on the resellers. Big time. So they basically said we're only going to make these available in Japan. Yeah. And unless you're an authorized dealer like HobbyLink Japan or something.
HobbyLink Japan has like they have nothing.
Yeah,
they have like
but apparently
1,000 listings.
Yeah, I know.
I think what they were trying to do was to limit how many kits, even by legitimate wholesalers, how many kits were being sold out of the country.
Yes, exactly.
They've got these different sort of flagship stores, right? There's that like it's called Gundam Base, and I forget what city that's in. There's like the Tokyo Gundam store, and so you literally have to go to that store to get that kit. So they're making the copies, and I think what was happening, and maybe you guys recall this, that that the local fans, like the people in Japan, weren't getting at any.
Oh, and they were getting pissed off. Yeah,
they weren't getting any kits because they were
and that's
all
their main.
being
And they're
exported.
80% of the sales. So you want to keep those guys happy.
Yeah, so I think they were kind of missing out. And then obviously there were some rumblings, and then here we are now. It seems very difficult to get anything. The prices have really kind of jumped up,
right?
Which and it seems to me every release that comes out is always a P Bondi, which means premium. Mm-hmm. So it's limited, higher price, same plastic in the box. Mm-hmm. And then, or you'd have it's a store limited edition. Right. So, best of luck to you. It's probably overall bad, maybe good if you're trying not to buy too many, like me.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? I've been watching some YouTube videos out of Japan, and it's like you see the lineups at the stores.
Yeah,
for when they have a new release. It's crazy. It's like magic cards. Probably just as expensive too.
But I wonder if it's having the I mean, it's probably not having in some ways the opposite effect, because I know you can cruise on Facebook and find out these small little sellers that they live in Japan, and they set up their own little basically apartment sort of shipping service. Yeah. So they'll take your order, they'll go down, take the train down to Gundam base shop, they'll buy 10 of this and 5 of those and package them up and resell them and send them out of the country. But at a really crazy markup.
Yeah. Well, but again, I can, when you look at the number of units they make and they sell, you can see why they want to keep the local market happy. Like you don't want to risk alienating those people that are, every week anew or every 2 weeks. They're there standing in line in the rain, spending big bucks. So
for sure. And you know what? I know that they've had Bondi as a company's had its share of issues stemming from COVID, where they couldn't get, products made. Mm-hmm. They were having factory shutdowns, or having all the same issues, probably issues getting material to make the kits and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So shipping issues, of course, were a nightmare from Japan for a while. Yeah. So it is what it is for the moment. It reminds me of the early 90s when if it had Gundam on it or it was from Japan, it was like, it's $100. It's like, that's a $12 model kit. But anyway,
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of what's new and exciting. A lot of stuff there. Things are starting to slow down a little bit for the holidays. Mm-hmm. But like I said, so this is like why we take a break. The industry stops to enjoy the holiday as well. So exactly. All right. So let's talk a little bit about our good friends at Cult TV, man. Then we're going to have the interview with Dr. Strangebrush. And for once, we haven't done a pre-interview. He's actually going to, in real time, he's going to join us in about 10 minutes, but we're going to do we're going to record that one and just pretend we have. So here we go, all about Cult TV Man. Here's the latest news from Cult TV Man. Always exciting things happening from them at culttvman.com. And, of course, culttvmanshop.com. So a couple of things. There's some new kit announcements from round 2, and new box arts come their way. 3 reissues for spring 2023. The Klingon Bird of Prey, the K7 Space Station, and the TIE Interceptor. The Bird of Prey is a reissue with new box art. The kit was last reissued in 2016. The K7 is a reissue of the kit with the photo box cover from the original release. I'm sure some of you remember that. And the TIE Interceptor is an upgrade using the body of the regular TIE Fighter. That's in 1/48 scale. That'll be a nice looking kit with that. So you can pre-order those right now from our friends at Cult TV Man at culttvman.shop. And then if we look what else is coming, lots of glow monsters and more from Atlantis. The Mummy and Wolfman are actually in the warehouse now. They're going to be shipping those like now, starting on Monday actually. So you've got the Lon Chaney Jr. Glow Mummy, Glow Wolfman. There's also the B-26 Invader Bomber in 1/67 scale from Atlantis. A F-100 Super Sabre 1/70th scale from Atlantis. The Eldorado, the Cadillac, 1/32. Those are reissues. The Tom McGew and Mongoose Dragster 1/32. The Jungle Jim Vega Funny Car 1/32 as well. And the Japanese Chai Hai Type 97 Medium Tank also available. And then they also have the Guillotine is back. This is the special art box edition from Doll & Hobby GA. This looks really, really nice. They also have a very limited number of the Metropolis store display. So if you definitely want to get that, you definitely want to jump on that pretty darn quick. Anyway, that's some of the new stuff. Check them out at culttvmanshop.com and let them know the Scale Model Podcast sent you. All right, time for the interview section, and we're really pleased to have this special guest coming to you from other, maybe slightly lesser quality podcasts. They're going to love me when I say that. Mr. John Miller, aka Dr. Strangebrush from Model Paint Solutions. John, how are you tonight?
Feeling fine. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I see those boys from Kentucky have you drinking bourbon.
Yeah,
that's caught on.
Their cohort in crime, Jim Bates, a Scale Canadian.
Wow.
Yeah,
yes,
he got me turned on to Bullet rye whiskey, and
yeah. We Canadians, we actually do that. Remember, we were joking about lawyers before.
Yeah,
he's another one. So
yeah, I won't go there. Like I said, I'm not going to go there.
That's all right. That's all right. We actually take care of that for you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, and actually, because he's also planning to hopefully make it up to our Heritage Con show.
Yes,
in March.
Yeah,
he keeps making threats. So
Jim's good at threats.
We'll have to see. He's good at threats. We'll have to see if he actually comes through with it. Although I have a feeling if he does, I'm sure the Mooseroo Cup judges will be increased by one. So something else I can bribe with. I mean, convince,
right?
Not bribe.
Right.
All right. So you're a fairly semi-regular on the Plastic Model Mojo, and I joke they're an awesome podcast. Talking about great tips you've had about airbrushing and tips and mixing, and it's really good.
Well, first off, I'm on the Mojo a lot because, to be honest, Mike and Dave did some digging and found some stuff on me back from my college days.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so the letters started coming and the demands for the show, and so what can you do? So anyway,
it's pretty sad.
Well,
pretty
it
sad.
is, and I've thought about going legal, but that's another story. Anyway. To just start with maybe some of the basics of just handling an airbrush, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? I thought first, why don't you give the company a plug? Model Paint Solutions.
Okay.
ModelPaintSol.com.
I never do that.
Well, we want you to.
I appreciate that. It's modelpaintsolutions.com. That's right. Okay. Model Paint Solutions. That took all of about 5 minutes to come up with, but there it is. And it's a company I started when I retired from being a chemistry professor and doing research and beating graduate students. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. And I've met a lot of really great people through email and phone calls. And what I will say about the company, if I could, in a nutshell, is I'd like to think what we bring to the modeling field is an approach to preparing your paint in a reliable, reproducible way. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be adding thinner, adding paint, changing pressure, and doing some kind of incantation. Every time you go to mix paint, you can go to the same 20, 30, 40% mixture that you did before and have it behave exactly the same way. And most of the stuff on the site is basically, to be honest, repurposed labware that I used for 25 years in a lab every day. And it makes preparing and storing. After you make a 30, 40, 50, whatever percent solution of paint, you can make enough and seal it in a pharmaceutical, grade container that you'll have that mixture ready to go years later, even if it's a lacquer. So that's what I'd like to think that we try to bring to the sport is this approach to painting.
Awesome. Now, of course, also just as important, how is your VP of Operation, Head of Human Resources, and the Assistant Director of Research,
Dr. Dieter Marie von Steenbeck?
Yes.
She now has an additional assistant in the form of Duncan O'Reilly.
Duncan O'Reilly.
Yeah, Duncan O'Reilly, who is about a 97.4 pound yellow Labrador.
There you go.
Who
Well,
runs our
Terry's,
shipping and receiving. He's doing a very good
well,
job.
that's good.
Yeah. So
Excellent. Always tough to find good staff.
it's very
I
good.
have
Yes.
I have two feline staff. Anthony's got a couple of felines, and
definitely.
and Terry's a fellow dog man, just like you.
Yep.
So
You know
there
what?
you go.
I'm both. Many years ago when I was first going to college, I wanted to be actually a veterinarian. And I ended up
Did
getting,
you?
yes,
Okay.
I did. And I ended up getting into biochemistry and research, and I went that direction towards med school. But I probably should have stuck to my guns and become a veterinarian. I love cats, but
Well,
to
there
be
you go.
honest,
Exactly.
I don't want to make anybody angry. I've had many over the years, and if you make me pick one or the other, I'll take a dog. But
Well, that's all right.
but
Either way.
I do love cats.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit. So let's assume that someone, because we have listeners, and you often see listeners saying, "I want to get an airbrush for the first time. I want to." Let's kind of start with the basics, and then if we have time, maybe we'll talk a little bit about acrylic paints,
Sounds good.
and we'll go there. So off you go, sir. And
Okay.
if you want, we'll just stick our hand up if any of us have a question, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So let's just think about you're sitting down at your bench there. You're going to do some painting, and whatever paint you're going to use, be it acrylic or lacquer, here are some basic tips that hopefully you'll find handy. So you sit down, you put your brush in its holder there. Take some of the thinner or whatever you're going to be painting and put in the paint cup and let it sit for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, before you add paint. And what you're doing there is you're allowing that thinner to percolate through all the threads and all the little nooks and crannies and galleys and stuff throughout the entire brush. And the idea is you would rather have those little nooks and crannies flooded with thinner versus paint when you first put paint into the airbrush. So putting thinner in the brush and letting it sit for a couple of minutes is an investment in having a much easier cleanup on the back end. Let's take just for a second, let's take the opposite. If you don't put any thinner in there, you go right to the paint, like I did for years till I started trying this trick and realized, wow, this really makes cleaning, a big difference. You go right to the paint, you're introducing paint to dry metal. And of course it's going to stick. So put a little thinner in there, put the brush in your holder, let it sit for a couple of minutes, blow that thinner out. And now you're going to be left with, no thinner in the paint cup, so you won't be diluting whatever your paint is coming in, but at least all the metals and threading and every stuff in the brush will be filled with thinner. So that's step number 1. Add thinner before paint. Then let's say you go ahead and add your paint, you dial in your pressure, you're shooting away, everything's all grand with the world, and you don't watch what you're doing, and you run the brush dry. And the moment you run out of paint and you hear that, right? That's the sound of paint drying to the inside of your airbrush.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're airbrushing, every once in a while, take a moment, look inside that paint cup. If it's starting to get low, add more paint. Again, it's an investment on the back end of having a very quick and easy cleanup, right? Versus spending hours or having to break the brush down. And just as a brief digression, if you follow some of these suggestions that we're going through right now, you won't end up having to break your brush down every time. And I say it to a lot of guys and they go, wow, that guy's full of that. I've been breaking my brush down every time for 20 years. And well, you can do that.
I find that's a quick way, though, to broken parts.
Yeah.
Broken threads. And if you don't need to do it, like the tolerances are so tight on these fine devices, right?
Right. I think it comes out there. That's exactly right. That's what, and all the threads are so fine, and every time you're tightening on them, you're doing a little damage. So anyway, I've had a lot of guys who broke the brush down religiously every time, try these couple little tricks here, and they send me an email and go, hey, I'm not having to break my brush down. No, and it's much easier on you and the brush. So
it makes sense, because I always remember, I don't break mine, but I still get in the habit when I switch from metallic to non-metallic, I still break it down.
Sure.
And even though, it makes sense.
Sure. And you know what? Now I'm not saying don't break your brush down. Let's say for a second you're shooting a Mustang, you're shooting AK Extreme Metallic Aluminum, and you're just rocking and rolling, and you run that brush dry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you ran it dry with a metallic versus running it dry with a paint, which you might be able to get away with if you do the 3 soaks trick, which we're going to come into now. But if it's a metallic and maybe your next step in the building process is a flat coat,
Yeah,
probably want to break that Hummer down and get that metallic out. So, but anyway, so second suggestion is don't ever let the brush run dry. Now, let's say you've done painting your model and you have a half a cup of paint left. You know, don't point it at the cat. Don't sorry guys, or the dog. Don't point the airbrush at the garbage can and let go until you hear that right. You know, you've made more work for yourself. Go ahead and decant that paint in, hopefully, into a container from Model Paint Solutions, and put your screw cap on that thing and put that Hummer back on the shelf, and that paint will be ready to go next time you need it. But you didn't run the brush dry, right? So now you have removed the paint, you've finished your painting, and now it's time to do cleanup. So what I suggest here is, again, sticking with the idea of never letting the brush run dry. The first thing I do is I'll take a tissue or multiple Q-tips, and I'll get most of the paint out of the paint cup. That's where a lot of the paint is in the bottom of the paint cup and sticking to the inside of the paint cup, especially if you're shooting an acrylic and you get the little acrylic, boogers that the dried paint on the inside. Get all that with a... Don't worry about the paint inside the airbrush at this stage, because remember, it's wet. And as long as you keep it wet, it's going to come right out when you hit it with some thinner. So I'll clean the paint cup out as best I can, and then I'll put some of my cleaner or my thinner, whatever you're using. I'll put that in there. Now, I'm going to try to describe this next trick. And I introduced this trick to a good friend of mine here in Seattle, and he flipped for it. And so far, everybody who's used it loves it. And I'm going to try to describe how I do this. So after I put thinner or cleaner in the paint cup and blow that out, right, I'll put some more thinner in there in the paint cup. Now, imagine in your mind a cylinder and a piston going up and down.
Right.
Imagine the paint cup being the cylinder, and imagine the ball of your thumb, the meat of your thumb, being the piston. Okay? So what you can do, I'm tempted to grab a brush because you are guys in video and you can actually see this, but what you can do is grab the brush, pull the lever back. That's important. Pull the lever back, and then with your other hand, use the ball of your thumb and push down with 3/4 of a paint cup, full of thinner. Push down, and you will see a stream of solid thinner come right out the nozzle and right out the around the needle. And it's almost like a jet wash, as opposed to blowing it where you've got a mixture of air. You can just take this whole column of thinner, blow it right out the nozzle with the little piston trick with your thumb, right? And then make sure you still have some thinner in there. Work the lever back and forth vigorously. And this is the point where we get to what I call 3 soaks. And the idea is you put that paint cup, or you put that thinner or cleaner in the paint cup. You then put the brush in its cradle, work the lever aggressively, and then go away for 5 minutes and do a decal.
Okay.
And then come back, blow that out, fill it up a second time, a second 5 minutes, second decal, come back, blow that out. Do that 3 times, 5 minutes each time. What you'll find is that those 5-minute incubations, if you will, allow whatever paint that's solidified inside the brush to go back into solution. And it's much easier to let it go back into solution with time, just sitting up against thinner, versus having to take the parts out and actually scrub the paint out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And there's one more trick you can do there, and that is do the 3 soaks in a shot glass.
Well, can I have 2 shot glasses? One for my whiskey and one for
don't mix them up.
Don't mix them up, for God's sakes. Don't mix up the paint water.
But you can't, if you get a shot glass, and you get the kind of shot glass that has a heavy glass bottom, so there's some weight to it, right? And you can take some of your thinner or your cleaner, and especially if you're using a pencil style airbrush, you can set that down, nose down first. If you have the guard on the air cap, the needle will be protected, right?
Yeah.
Then you can set the brush down in this shot glass for your 3 soaks. Then if you stop and think about it, you've got thinner in the paint cup, thinner in the column or in the hole, all the way down to the air cap where the needle. You got the thinner submerged, or the needle submerged in thinner. Now, if you submerge the air cap in the shot glass, you have the outside of the nozzle submerged in thinner as well.
Yep. You know what I've done?
Key parts of it.
Yeah, you know what I've done in the past? I've it's like a trick I learned for soaking old paintbrushes where you use like a clothespin. I've taken a clean cup, put some thinner in, put the airbrush, clipped it on with a clothespin, so it's just above.
Yeah,
and done that too. So yeah, similar idea.
Yeah,
cool.
That's a neat idea. So that the 3 soaks method, whether you do the shot glass or not, just doing the 3 soaks, right? So now you've done your 3 soaks. You blow the brush out. The last thing I like to put through the brush is the Tamiya Pink Top Airbrush Cleaner.
Yep.
It's a lacquer, so it doesn't smell real good. But I usually put a half a cup of that in there. I'll work the lever. I'll pull the lever back. I keep saying pull the lever back before you do the thumb piston trick. Because if you fail to pull the lever back first and then you push down, that pressure is going to go back against the master seal.
Right.
So as long as you pull the lever back first, he says for the 7th, 8th time, pull the lever back, then do the piston, all the pressure will go down and towards the front of the brush, not the back of the brush. So
Interesting.
So I'll let that sit, pink top. I'll blow that out. And then I get to what I kind of like to call the lawn dart maneuver.
What could possibly go wrong here? What could possibly go wrong?
But before we get to the lawn dart maneuver, I know we're limited on time, but real quick, why the lawn dart maneuver? This came up because I had a very good friend of mine in Seattle who builds for the Museum of Flight. And
yes,
what kept happening was she was switching from one type of paint, lacquer, to acrylic, and she was having it turn into cottage cheese on her. She couldn't figure out why. And really what was going on there, and what happens with any of these brushes, any of these pencil style brushes, or even pistol grip, is you've got the needle going through a master seal. And what can happen is thinner, especially because it's very low viscosity. It'll wick onto the back side of the master seal, and it'll stay there. And so when you blow that brush free, and you don't get any more thinner coming out of the brush, and you think it's dry, it may not be, because there's going to be some thinner on the back of the master seal. There's also little little areas within the brush, threading and stuff, that's still going to be retaining some of that thinner. So I'll take the brush when I think I'm done. I'll take the brush in my throwing hand and I'll pretend that I'm going to lawn dart the thing into the floor right in front of my feet, but I don't let it go.
That's remember that second part,
the important
kids.
part.
Don't let it go.
Pretend
we're not responsible for that.
Pretend you're trying to flick water off the tip of the brush, which actually you're trying to do, right? So 3 or 4 hard, lawn darts, and then hook it back up to your air. You're going to be surprised how much thinner comes out of that brush when you were for sure convinced it was dry.
Yeah. Yeah. This will also be a good time to mention you do airbrush repairs. I do.
Every day.
I had to put it in there. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And that's important. I should mention that, because I get to see all of these brands, be it Iwata, Badger, Harder Steenbeck, Grex. I get to see what they look like on the back of the master seal. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm sure some stories you could tell.
Yeah.
The names have been changed to protect the guilty.
But that's about it for just basic handling. And some pointers that can be used for either lacquers or acrylics.
So let me ask you one question, because I'm a Badger guy. I got a couple of Badger brushes. Is airbrush lube a thing? I'm just asking, because you see it out there.
You're talking about that green alien stuff that.
Well, okay. Well, whatever. No, Badger makes their own brand.
Yeah.
Is it just glycerin or something? Yeah.
So
is it needed?
Can you tell I'm having a hard time with this right now?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, so many voices are screaming in my head right now.
Yeah, we ask challenging questions here on the podcast.
I see that.
Not like those guys in Kentucky.
And I'm on video too. It's a little unnerving.
I know, that's okay.
So
no one else sees the video. I keep telling you, we all have faces for radio. There's a reason.
Let me say emphatically, no.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I can't say it enough, and I know I'm going to make some guys angry, but I cannot say it enough. No. If you're having a needle that's binding, even after you have it in thinner, I would say let's look at what the mechanical issue is that's causing the needle to bind versus covering it up with green goo. I know I'm going to torque some people off. But, so that's number one. I can't tell you of how many times I've had to clean a brush or repair a brush and dig that crap out of it with a toothpick because it gets in. Good
to know.
It gets everywhere. It dries. Not to mention the fact that it also is. Here's the chemist talking now. It's also something that isn't necessarily meant to be in paint.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing that I always thought. Yeah.
You know, you're adding it into your paint and air mix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I for the listeners, I held up a bottle of the Super Lube that everyone has. I have 2 of those bottles. I really like it on not anywhere near the needle per se, but in my trigger and in the I like it because sometimes that gets a little thick and it gets dirty.
I am so glad you asked me about that. And that's something I probably should have added earlier is to lube or not to lube, talking about the airbrush guys. To lube or not to lube, that is the question.
And there's our episode title tonight. So much for the rated G yet again.
So here's the deal. When you look at the average airbrush, it has a lever, it has a needle, it has a chuck, right? Those are metal pieces working on metal pieces, right? Only in airbrush circles have I heard it described, oh, you can't lube. Yeah, I've been lubing my airbrushes ever since I started as a wee baby modeler with a Badger 200 single action. I would lube the working parts of the brush, and I do it with, I used to use WD-40, which is good stuff, but I prefer Ballistol. Ballistol. Yeah, and you can get it at sporting goods stores, and you can get it at some hardware stores. And actually, a good friend of mine, a shout out to Blaine Singleton, he was the one that introduced this to me. He's a fireman, retired fireman, and he had used it on gear or something prior, and I tried it and just flipped. It's a very light oil like a WD-40, but it tends to hang around a little bit longer. And I will put some in a small container, and I'll take a toothpick, and I'll put the toothpick in the oil and just let it soak, right, until it's just saturated. And then I'll take that toothpick out and kind of rub it on the metal parts. That way you don't take a drop and put it on the lever assembly, which is usually on most brushes above the air valve.
Yeah.
Right. So you just
don't want that.
You just take this oil, light oil, saturated toothpick, rub it around on the parts where you want, the lubricant. It makes a world's difference. And anytime I'm doing fine line where I really need, like, say, a millimeter wide or less fine line, before I start working, on that model, I'll take a moment and put a little bit of lube, especially, I use almost all Harder Steenbeck, especially on the lever group, which is the metal to metal. I'll lube all that group down, and it makes a huge difference for how smooth.
You want that smooth action, right? Yeah,
that's what you want.
So it feels good, and it's not the brush isn't in your way.
No,
right?
No, you shouldn't be fighting the brush. If you're fighting the brush, then there's an issue. So take a step back and reconfigure your brush, either lever wise or tip size wise or whatever. Yeah, you shouldn't be fighting it.
Yeah, that's and then that's awesome. I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay. So, Terry, do you have any questions at this point? We're still going here.
Yeah, Terry, you really dominated the conversation, man.
he does that.
Yeah.
He's soaking it all in.
Let the guys ask questions.
He's like a sponge. He's like a sponge,
Now, for metallics, I have an older airbrush. It's not a detail brush, but that's all I run through that one.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I've got the same thing. Being a dealer, I get them pretty cheap. So I have a.
I have numerous.
So I've got an Evolution that I use just for metallics, and
a Revolution. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, Evolution. Harder Steenbeck Evolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a question?
That's interesting. I've never divided out like having a second brush for metallics.
You don't have
I mean,
to.
You don't have
it
to?
seems like a good
No.
practice.
It's just an older one that
Yeah.
I'm not that happy with it. So it does fine for broader coverage, and most of the time when I'm doing metallic, it's a broad coverage.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what I'm using it for.
I've gotten this question before, and you know what? Not everybody has sufficiently deep pockets, right?
Mhm.
No.
To have
Yeah.
to have
You
a
gotta
brush
make
for
do.
each thing. If you are in that situation, it's handy because then you can clean that brush out to 98% and never have to worry about having a clear coat turn into a pearl coat. So
Mhm.
I almost ended up with the only pearl coated Spitfire one time, and
Cool. That would
after
have been something
that,
at the show.
yeah,
That
I
would
can
have been
see
something.
how that would
That's-
be motivating to take that route. Like,
But just think of all the fun you could have pissing off all the judges.
oh yes,
You know.
But I think it's a good idea. Again, if you can afford it, to set up a side just for metallics, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I've got an old Badger 150, the side feed I still use for the odd time for that.
Yep.
And it works.
Yep.
Okay, let's get on. Let's continue with part 2 after the basics.
Okay. So we're
So we're
talking
gonna
acrylics.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about acrylics because it's all about me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm an old Tamiya guy for years, Tamiya acrylics, because my wife has asthma, so I try and avoid the smelly stuff when I can, even though I have a paint booth.
Yep.
But I use the model leveling thinner with it. But I've recently I've done the Aqueous. We can get Aqueous in Canada again. And I use that, which I know essentially turns it into a lacquer. But I've also just started playing around with the AK, the Gen 3 acrylics.
Yes.
And again, they're like a true acrylic. And again, just playing with them, as you say, you have to play with it, work with it.
Mm-hmm.
Paint mules are awesome. So, I know on your website you mentioned Vallejo, you mentioned their AK lacquer line. Have you played with the Gen 3 acrylics yet?
I have. I've shot them a little bit just at my bench and for a customer that wanted to learn how to use them. And I've got a project I'm doing right now. I'm doing a B-17 for the Museum of Flight here in Seattle as part of a display. Okay. And I'm going to shoot that in third gen, so I can actually do a project with it. But I like it. That's a very nice handling acrylic. But, anytime you start talking about acrylics in general versus lacquers or enamels, one of the first things to think about is the drying time. And that's one of the reasons that people like acrylics, because they dry fast, especially if you help them along with a hair dryer. They dry fast. But that is also their weakness. They dry too fast. And because they dry too fast, especially guys that run the acrylic too thick, they run into a lot of tip dry. They run into dry overspray. They run into clogging. And, it's two things happening there. Number one, the paint's usually too thick to begin with, right? And number two, let's say, and I don't want to get too tangentized here, but let's say, this is why I don't go on Facebook. Let's say, here you go. Here's right here. You got a guy who's shooting Vallejo, and he's got it, dialed into, let's say, 30%, and he's using thinner, and it just works like the bomb, right? And he's in Miami, and it's raining outside.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes on Facebook and says, this is what I'm using. This is the cat's butt. And there's nothing better. You got to try it. And Sven,
our buddy Sven. Yeah, we know Sven. He's a good guy.
Why not? Sven's a nice guy, but
Sven's
it's cold.
Nice guy.
It's cold where
it's cold where he is. Yeah.
So he's had the heater up to 11 for the last 12 days, right? And the humidity in his shop is down to 0. Right, versus rainy Miami, right? He mixes up the same mix. It handles horribly. And he goes on the Facebook and says, I did the same thing and mine handled horribly.
Yeah.
And if it usually goes the way it goes on Facebook, am I tipping my hand? The first guy will go, well, that's because you did it wrong.
Yeah, I know. We never see arguments on Facebook, do we?
They're using Vallejo and they're terrible.
It's like, not the place for nuance, right? Not the place.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one of the things to consider when you're dealing with acrylics is they're going to dry faster, and one of the ways you can address that is adding a retarder, a drying retarder, or a flow agent, also called a wetting agent. And I again on my site, Model Paint Solutions.
.com.
.com. I have Liquitex Flow Aid and Slow Dry, and I went with those two because I've used them for a long, long time at my bench, and I've used them with many different acrylics, and they work really well. Now, that's not to say that similar reagents by Vallejo or MIG or AK, because God, 10 years ago, Liquitex was the only game in town, if you want it really. Now, everybody and his brother has a retarder and a flow agent, right?
Yep.
All of them work roughly the same. So if you go to my site and I say I'm shooting Vallejo, and in my thinner, before I add anything, to any paint and thinner are combined, I take some Vallejo thinner and I add Liquitex Flow Aid and Liquitex Slow Dry, each to 5% to the thinner ahead of time, and that's my stock thinner.
Okay.
And then I'll go and dilute the Vallejo. Now, if I'm diluting Vallejo Air, which they say has been diluted and ready to brush, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's too thick.
In the miniature painting area, it's kind of diluted almost to the point where you would hand brush with it.
Yeah.
And they add a little bit of glaze medium to it.
Yeah.
It hand brushes wonderfully.
Yeah. So what I find
is don't even bother with the full strength stuff anymore.
What I find is with the air, I like to dilute it about 30%. So it's 70% air and 30 to 40% thinner. And if I'm using a Vallejo color, which is of course way thicker, it's almost perfectly reversed. It's 20 or 30% paint, and the balance of that would be thinner.
It's funny you mentioned that. We had the two guys in two different locations, and I've mentioned it briefly too. But yeah, it is so important. We've talked about too. Have a paint mule. Anytime, I always encourage people to try a new line of paint. Especially, you got a lot of guys now. Testers, Humbro, we're not going to be able to get in Canada soon. It's worth trying, but try it on a paint mule, play around with it. When Vallejo first came out, I had this was before the air. I had the devil of a time dialing it in. Like Tamiya, I can do with my eyes closed practically, other than they're yellow and they're white, which is, always require a little bit of work.
Tamiya white.
I know. Anyway, as you know, it requires a little bit more. You got to turn the brain on, but it wasn't until I played with it for quite a while and I got the ratio. And this is what I found with the Gen 3 thinner. And I also got some of their real color lacquer. But again, before I even put a drop on the actual kit, I played around with it, tried some different mediums. I always like trying the manufacturer's thinner anyway.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Yeah.
So I do that. But it was funny when I did the AK, I did a full test. And, one of the things I was very surprised with, I added a bit of Vallejo flow improver to it.
Yeah.
The AK Gen 3, and it's beautiful. Yeah. It just adds an extra little bit. Yeah. People don't believe you, but I also put in the article, I said, you've got to play with it. What works for me will not work for you, maybe.
I have not met an acrylic yet that doesn't benefit from a little bit of flow aid, especially, and maybe even a little bit of. I have not met one yet that doesn't benefit from it. That doesn't exist.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Very much so.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, so that's the first thing dealing with acrylics is think about adding some flow or wetting agent. Think about adding retarder. Think about decreasing maybe your dilution. A lot of guys, for some reason, when they first start shooting paints in general, they land on 50% paint. Just because it seems like 50% paint, 50% thinner. And it's too thick. For a lot of paints, 50% paint is too thick. Not to mention the fact that we haven't even talked about doing fine line versus doing general versus doing clear coats or primers. And if you really want to get the best that your brush has to offer you, you probably want to change the dilution of paint that you're using if you're going to be shooting a fine line. Versus the paint that you're going to use if I'm shooting the wheel well of a P40 or the landing gear of a P40, where I just want coverage. Right? In which case, I'm going to be thinking about 30 or 40% paint, depending on the brand. If it's just general spraying, right? If I'm doing fine line, again, depending on the brand of paint, I'm going to cut that down to between 10 to 20% paint.
Right. Right, and again, try it on paint mule first.
Yeah, and and just to cycle back, if I could, to the paint mules are great. But what I also suggest doing is if you can just get a sheet of styrene, and when you start your model, take that styrene, put the same primer that you got on your model. Let's go back to our P40. When you do the OD green, put the OD green on your piece of styrene. When you put your gloss coat, put it on your styrene.
Excellent tip.
You've got the same layers of paint
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
styrene. And then when it gets to that point at the end of the, not end of the model, but at the end of the finishing process, or I should say the beginning of the decal process, when you go to put the decals on this finish that looks perfect, but you don't know if that finish is going to be good against Solvaset or Microset or Microsol or Mr. Setter, Mr. Softer, whatever you're using, whatever decals you're using. So go back to that sheet of styrene that has all the same layers of paint in the same order that your model does, and test your decal solvents on that.
Excellent tip. Excellent tip. Good.
That is a
Excellent
good
point.
tip.
All right, that's going to be a good point to end it for now.
All right.
Now we always ask our guests, because we're going to have you back anyway, but we always ask the same standard 2 questions. Okay, so we always ask, what's currently on your bench?
What's currently on my bench? I'm doing the 48 scale Tamiya Yag Tiger in an ambush scheme.
Okay.
And second to that is the Revell of Germany B17F in the livery of the Green Hornet.
That's going to look nice for the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll look great. Well, you'll have to send us some pictures and we'll add them to the show notes. Definitely.
Definitely.
The other question we always ask, and this is good because you're not only a hobbyist in the thing, but you're also part of the industry. Where do you see the industry in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, that's...
I know it. You know what? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Well, first off, 3D printing is going to be everywhere. You know, and we're going to end up with kits that are almost entirely 3D printed before it's over, right? So techniques for removing parts from 3D lattices, that's going to play a bigger part in future modeling techniques than it does right now. And I'm tackling a 3D printed Citabria. I was fortunate to own a 1946 Champ. I've always wanted to do, civilian style air, and this is the closest I can get. And just getting it out of the lattice work without damaging it was a new set of skills for me. So I think 3D printed parts is going to be something we're going to have to deal with. And let's face it, I don't see a lot of youngsters at any of the meetings.
No.
And the youngsters I do see at the meetings are doing Gundams. So
that's where the market is.
Yeah.
And, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are definitely going to have you back, sir.
Great.
Thank you for the awesome tips. See, this is what I love. I've heard all your stuff on the other podcasts, but I still learn new things. And I'm sure my fellow host has as well. Any other questions, gentlemen, before we let this guy go?
John saved all the best bits for us. Right?
Of course he did. Of course he did.
It's the video, guys. I'm just feeding off the energy.
We do video. They don't do video. See, that's
a mistake.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm going to actually take this up with Mike and Dave. Yeah. That's a mistake.
I know. I'm just saying.
We're not going to share it, but you got to each other.
We like it when we talk. It's good because you kind of pick up off each other's nuances and stuff like that. And video is the future. So
agreed. But I suspect that both Mike and Dave do the show. Well, I don't know if they're wearing any pants, to be honest with you. So
I don't want to go there. No, let's not even.
I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
and you can imagine when Jim joins them, right?
Oh,
the silliness. Just
See, I'm trying not to imagine that. So
I know. Well, I keep hearing a vicious rumor that one or both of them may end up in Hamilton at Heritage Con too. So.
Ooh,
I'm just saying, they said they might try and directly bribe the judges, but we'll be happy to have them up here and show them some Canadian hospitality.
I love it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I enjoyed it, guys. Thanks.
All right, an absolute pleasure, John. I'll be in touch with you in the new year.
That sounds good. You guys enjoy.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
To meet
Bye.
All right, bye.
Same.
We'll bring it back.
Okay. Bye.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about what's on our bench, and Anthony, I'm gonna start with you because it's been a while.
Yeah. I've been. I think last time I mentioned, I am trying to attack all my shelf queens and the projects that have gotten away from me. So I'm still on that track. It's come along. I'm pleased to report some good progress. Nothing. I did finish one Gundam kit last month, so I'm happy about that. And that was one that was it was one of the early high grade kits, so it probably came out 20 years ago. So there you go. That's one off the
Awesome.
Well, actually, in my space, it shuffles from one shelf to the other. It's like a shelf of started projects and then a shelf of finished ones because I don't have a proper display
Yeah.
display case. But yeah, I have the next one that's really coming due is my my VF4G Lightning from Macross. Very close. I'm just doing decals.
Good.
I was trying to do a Sundowner homage.
It looks good though.
Yeah, thank you. And I had a bit of a mishap with the. I mean, don't tell anyone I told you this, but
It'll be our secret.
so everyone knows what the Sundowner looks like, and I just mean you guys know what it looks like. So I painted it all red, and then I couldn't find decals to fit this thing,
right,
for the life of me. So I just found a picture and like shrunk it down, and then cut my own masks.
Yeah.
So then that was a lot of work. And then I painted red, the whole thing red, and I put white on it, as one does. And then, and I actually thought it turned out okay.
Yeah,
but it ended up being pretty thick. And then I was trying to make my own masks for the N and the J.
Right.
And I thought I would just make 4 masks, right? One for the shadow, one for the main color.
Makes sense.
And I just couldn't get it to work. It was like it was just kind of bleeding all over the place. It was too thick. I couldn't get enough layers on there to actually show up.
Right.
So I just had to sand them down and redo the sun pattern.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna go back to decals. I'm gonna make something work.
All right. What scale is that?
72nd scale.
Let me have a look.
Yeah.
Did I not give you? Was that one of the sheets I gave you?
Yes. Yeah. You gave me.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah, you gave me a sheet, but it was 48th scale. So I actually
was it 48th? Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
I'll
double check.
Yeah, I took the decals and I scanned them, and then I printed it, shrunken to the correct kind of the sizing I needed because it's a fictional plane, right?
Right.
Right. So, and then I just cut it out. And it was great because
the old memory kicks in once in a while. Yeah. I knew there was something, and I was thinking, was that the one I gave him or not? But cool. But no, it looks great. You showed us briefly pre-show.
All the picture there on the show notes for the listeners.
Definitely.
I'm happy.
Really,
it's
really
it's sliding into home right now, which is what I said.
Go.
It's great. And then the next thing I think I have on the go is my type 89 Japanese IFE, which I've got painted. And I put on there's a few decals there. So I've got the placards on and I've glossed them and I put it back in the box. So I kind of hit a plateau, put it away, get the next one out, kind of move it, advance it a good step.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Put it away and try can cycle through these 11 kits.
11 kits.
Don't tell anyone I tried to put white over red.
I won't say it. Shh. Secret safe with us. No one listens to this, right? No, we'll be fine. Okay, Terry, what do you have on your bench?
Oh, it's all about what's going to be off of my bench.
That's true.
Yes. Excellent.
So the Turbo Cavalier Mustang, the Master, whatever Master models or what have you, the turn brass stuff. I wanted to get a real pitot tube on the thing, so I got that, installed it, painted it. I can call it done now. I just need to take pictures of it.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Yeah. And the P43 I'm calling done. It looks good enough. That'll be done, and now I have to find space for him in my cabinet.
Isn't that always the way? I know.
I've got more stuff toward the back.
I got one cabinet left, and that's exactly. And it's a small one. You get to that point where you got to start deciding: do they go into boxes or the old stuff just go out?
I did that earlier this year. Put a bunch of stuff into a crate.
Yeah. Then you decide. So, what else? So
the other Christmas birds are done.
Yes.
So since this won't be released till right about when I'm down visiting my parents, I can let people know that this year was a belted kingfisher.
Very nice. Well, I'll make sure I won't release it till Sunday morning. Does that work for you?
Sounds great.
Okay. We won't. I sometimes release Saturday night, but I won't release till Sunday morning.
Great.
So embargoed.
Yes.
Until, and they look great.
Thanks.
Birds,
yeah, well done.
Awesome. Jeff also complimented. He saw that. He said, "Poor fish."
Yeah. So occasionally I'll do a little bit of behavior. like the flicker, and it was looking at some ants, about to eat some ants, and that kind of thing. Kingfisher without a fish is just, it's incomplete. So
Right.
the minnow was actually a lot of fun to do. Yeah.
Well, exactly. No, it looked really good. I was really, really pleased. You always do a great job. It's something different, which is
Yeah.
cool. And I know you say your family loves getting them now.
Yep.
There's that expectation.
It is. The package comes like, what is it this year?
Yeah. Lord help you if it's late or you don't do it.
I always seem to run
change
down
it up.
to the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they look good. I knew you were working on them early this year, so you
I
mentioned
did,
that,
but
and yeah.
I mean, literally just finishing this
Yeah.
weekend, and that's a week before I'm going to be
I
giving
know, but
them away.
you know what?
So,
But you also had life events happen, so
yes,
that's
several.
perfectly okay. Perfectly
So
okay.
to take a break, I'm building some aircraft for the Pacific build, model airplane maker Pacific build. I'm building a pair of Mitsubishi Babs from fine molds, and these are every bit as enjoyable as the KI-14 I built from.
It's looking good. I saw the pictures already.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm building engines, and the one of them has the kind of the open cowl. The older version has the single bank open cowl, so you'll see everything in there.
Yep.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it looks
I'm not
really
adding
good.
a lot of stuff. I'm just doing what's in the box.
Cool.
So Anthony, that troublemaker we know from Ottawa, Chris Wallace, model airplane maker, he's doing a Pacific aircraft group build.
Yep.
As long as the aircraft saw the Pacific, you can build it. It's 6 months to do. I'm just saying, not that I'm trying to start anything.
That's
Not that I'm trying to start
Yeah.
anything, but
You know what?
Chris,
I've never joined a group build. I've always been
I know. I know. I'm the same.
It's my own mental prison, but
I know. But 6 months. 6 months. It's all
6
Terry's fault.
months.
It's all Terry's fault. Terry
Pick
suckered me in.
You want
He called
something?
me out.
I've got it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
well, I'm pretty focused on the shelf queens, but
Yeah.
lo and behold, there's a crazy variety of stuff in it. I probably do. And he said anything as long as it's seen the Pacific.
Aircraft.
Pacific 1941 to 45.
Yes.
So it's got to be aircraft.
Okay.
Though. Model airplane maker.
There's
I know.
rules.
I know.
I actually I do enjoy his blog, and I've kept up to date with that. I always enjoy.
Well, he is joining us again for Heritage Con.
Excellent.
So he's already booked his hotel room, so he will be there once again, and we'll have him in the hot seat.
I don't think I met him.
I don't think you were. We had him upstairs, but you were running around. So no, he was there. He did a guest spot. We'll make sure we have you up there. Definitely, he's a really good guy. Good builder.
I think I was on after him.
Yeah, I think so. You were running around. You were running around. All your fans were following you. I saw the groupies
judging, and I had a bunch of entries. It was fantastic.
No, that was an absolute great day. Okay, as for me, well, there it is.
Oh, there's one of them.
There's one of them. Yeah,
and
looks good.
It's fine molds.
Fine molds. Yep.
He's got some pictures. He's got some pictures on his page.
Their new ones are great. The KI-14. Check that out.
That's the one with you can see all the framing on the inside. I'm looking at your pictures.
Well, you can't see much. It's a very narrow cockpit opening. But the engine you can see all of. It's the grandfather of the Zero. The Wind Rises. The plane from Wind Rises.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yep, I know exactly what you mean. I would love to build one of those.
All right, but if you're not careful, Terry will call you out like he did with me. He said, "Hey Stu, this is the link you might be interested in." Put it on Chris's page, and then Chris goes, "Oh, okay." So I'm just saying.
You were going to build something anyway.
I know, but you know what? Yeah, because I'm normally a little bit like Anthony. I don't like group builds, but this is 6 months, and I was planning to do a bow fighter next. So it's nice to get back to the World War II. Not that I have enough Spitfires to keep me going. Until the cows come home, but that's fine. All right. Anyways,
there weren't Spitfires in the Pacific, were there?
Oh yeah, Seafires. Yeah, there was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just don't have a lot of. I didn't have a lot of RAA. I didn't have any decal schemes, so I had this bow fighter I got at Heritage Con a while back. Well, this nicely dovetails in. So anyway, working on the 148 Tamiya bow fighter was part of a dual kit I got from Dave from Hornet Hobbies a couple of Heritage Cons ago. 48 scale, nice looking kit, but I didn't have any Australian Air Force decals for it. So Mike from our club, Mike Hill was nice enough to provide me with a set of decals.
There you go.
So far, just starting to build it up. Looks good. I did play around, although I was sick, though. I caught the big COVID last week. So that just completely stopped the mojo in its tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I wasn't sniffing and coughing, I look at the bench and go, no, brain's not there.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to just get going if you're feeling a little bit under the weather.
Yeah. So I did do but I did do I've got the interior painted. I'm starting to paint up the cockpit, and I did try something new I'd read about before, because when I do some 48 scale Spitfires, I normally have these little paper seat belts that I got a while back, and I want to get some more. But I've read about some people, they use Tamiya tape, they double side it so the sticky's inside, and they'll either paint it themselves or, whatever. But I thought, let me try putting the decal on. The decal's not bad. It comes with a decal for the landing gear, the seat belts. So I've just done the observer's seat right now, and so I put it down. I put the decal, laid it down on the double-sided Tamiya tape, and then put a good coat of decal film on it just to protect it. Let it dry overnight, and then I trimmed it out. It's actually not bad. It's not bad, considering I probably wouldn't pass the test if you wanted the cockpit open, but with this observer seat, the clear part's going to do a little bit of distortion. It does provide that little bit of more thickness, which the decal can't do. So yeah, I'll throw some more pictures up of that. So that's good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. I haven't built a Beaufighter since I was a kid. I built a 72nd scale one. So as I say, this is the 48th one. Nice looking size. Going to do the RAAF number 30 squadron. So that's a very popular squadron down there. So looking forward to doing that. I've still got that little Bandai X-Wing, the 1-to-144 one, the tiny one. I didn't finish that yet. I still have to put the laser lances and some stuff on that. But again, nice little palette cleanser in between. So yeah, just been doing that. Just will slowly getting better. So I'm hoping, by the holidays, I'll have some time to get some good bench work in.
Excellent.
So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, so that's what's happening there. All right, let's talk a little bit about, even though we already talked about them before, our good friends, your good friend and my good friend, Sean's Custom Model Tools. Let's hear what's going on. Now we're going to talk a bit about Sean's Custom Model Tools, one of our other sponsors of the Scale Model Podcast. Some very cool things, both 3D printed and the Goodman Super Sanding Blocks. Let's start with the Microset and Microsole Decal Set Bottle Stand. This is purposely designed for the microscale set and sole. Most modelers over the years, they've tipped these bottles over. So this is a very handy thing. At $14.95, you can put them both together. They're printed in blue and red for easy identification. Comes with a black base, and they actually have little magnets on it, so helps keeps them in place. Definitely a good deal. I use mine all the time, and I can well recommend them. Let's talk a bit about those Goodman Model Super Sanding Blocks, namely the Value Pack Combo for $28.99. You get the 80 grit, 180 grit, 220, 320, 400, and 600. Just an amazing set, just what you need. And you can also, if you want, you can also get a super sanding block stand for it, which also really makes life a little bit easier, helps things keep it organized. The other thing too is they have the awesome model tape dispenser for your various tapes. It's basically a 3D printed thing. You put spools of your tapes. It's got a little razor blade to help cut it, and it's really, really good design. So yeah, works out really well, and yours for $19.95. So check out these and other amazing deals at Sean'sCustomModelTools.com, and also on Facebook, and tell them that the Scale Model Podcast sent you. All right, awesome, cool things. Don't forget, we have the super secret 100th anniversary surprise good giveaway also by them. Check out our show notes at scalemodelpodcast.com to see some of the details there. All right, moving on. Things we've seen. A stunning Macross diorama. I think this is the one I found. Yeah, this one just blew me away. This is from our good friend Brett. Which reminds me, Brett, my previous build before the X-Wing, I was building that Tomahawk, the mech that you gave me, Anthony. So I'm building that. It's an older kit, having a ball. And then Brett's building one of the Moscato custom resin ones and putting me up to shame. I got to give him heck sometime. It looked good. It looked really good. I'm just saying. But anyway, back to
he's
this.
he takes his time and
He
does
does,
a really
and that's fine. He's a great builder.
Yeah.
I was just chuckling. It's like, sure, try to show me up. That's not going to be hard. Anyway, so Brett posted this from our good friends at Return to Kit Forum. He's posted this on the 9th. Tell me this form of modeling isn't art. I don't know who the original builder is, but when I find out, I'll credit. Built by Twitter user Ann Coramati, from the looks of it. This thing is a Gerwalk in kind of the what I call Battloid mode. And it looks like it's like artwork from a book, but it's actually a kit. And the way the display is, this thing is stunning. The way he's painted it, or she, I guess, might be she actually. This is what a cool concept. Like this is just.
You have to. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's a Facebook link. Sadly, I'm going to look up the Twitter username. Oh yeah, they're out of Japan. But just an absolutely gorgeous kit. Absolutely the way they did it.
Was it right up front? I don't see it.
Oh, hang on. You know what? I found a better link for you. Let me put this one in here.
I have seen people do the like the cell shading painting on especially Macross stuff.
Yeah,
it looks 80s and it looks phenomenal.
That's a very it's sort of a common
Let's go to that link there.
That's
the builder's Twitter account. If you scroll down about half a page, it's there.
All right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, February 22nd. Look at just.
So I'm seeing a lot of. So that's the Gerwalk, kind of like
the Gerwalk, yeah,
floating above the. So that's the box art that they've recreated.
Yeah, they've recreated the box art.
Yeah, that's the 72nd Gerwalk VF1J kit.
But like, it's the painting style. That first you look, you go, oh, it's box art, and then you go, no, wait a minute, that's a bloody kit.
And that artist, his name is Tenjin, and he's become fairly famous among Macross builders and sci-fi builders. He's done all the Macross box art like for like 20 years.
Oh,
like it's a ton of kits.
Yeah,
and he's really good. He really has put his own style to it and has really banged out these works of art. That's pretty awesome. That's neat.
It's
you picked that one out.
Forced perspective. It's in this kind of half shell.
Yeah. So like, what do you call those curves? There's a name for those curves, where like they film TV shows, infinity curves or forced perspective, or it's kind of got like that
parabolic.
Yeah. That's the way he's done it. It's a beautiful display he's put on it there. As you say, it looks like a part of an egg. And,
so does he have a smaller scale Valkyrie to represent something in the background?
Yeah, I think so.
Scales.
Yeah,
he's mixing scales.
Like 200th, and then one of the miniatures, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
That's hard to do. And it looks really
definitely
good.
Definitely the one up front's an actual kit.
Yeah, that one's got to be 72nd for sure.
Right, and then the third one in the way back is from one of the miniatures games.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's very clever. That stuff's really cool.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. Okay, the second thing under things we've seen, a treasure trove of vintage 80s Macross and sci-fi models discovered. This is this.
This is something I found actually just today. This is coming from Macross World, which is the best forum, I think, going today for the Macross modeling community, which is, I think, fairly significant. Both Terry and I think are.
Yeah, I haven't been there as much as I used to be.
Yeah, but you're still a big Macross fan. It's just really, it's almost its own genre.
It is.
Yeah.
So this interesting thing came up. This is unbelievable, and I think even if you don't know what Macross is or you have no interest in that, the original series and all the model kits come from that golden mid 80s period. And so there's all these vintage kits. They're around. People have them in their closets. You give them to your buddies. You can find them at shows. They get repop. There's new models coming out all the time. But somebody uncovered a massive stash of brand new factory packed boxes, like from the mid 80s. So new old stock.
Factory packed, factory sealed boxes of kits.
100,000 kits.
100,000 kits.
Yeah.
It was from a guy who I guess ran like a mail order. Remember mail order model kits that you were hunting for before, in the 80s and probably 70s, 80s, and early to mid 90s. so this guy had it was called the Galactic Trade Commission, and it was run by this guy Ron Downing. So we've linked to an article here that really goes through the whole thing, but this guy was advertising in like Starlog and whatever sci-fi magazines, and he was importing these Robotech models, Macross models, and so something happened where he sat on a huge collection, this huge stash. I guess he went out of business or whatever, but somebody's gotten their hands on it, and they're going through it and posting it for sale. And it's Wise Guys. It's
Wise Guy Hobbies. I'm just throwing up the eBay link for them right now.
I guess it's an eBay store, but this is just, there's tons of pictures. It's a fascinating like time capsule to see all these things in their original packaging, like the Macross logoed boxes from Imai, which is long defunct.
Aoshima kits.
Ravel did some of the boxing.
Kits.
Yeah. Ravel briefly did took on the Macross molds. And for America and Canada and probably Europe for doing Robotech licensed models. So this is a really fascinating kind of story. And all this stuff is going to be treasures. They're going to be all being listed for sale.
I really don't need to be looking at this stuff. I'm just saying.
It's a fascinating story, right? Oh. We all have those. We all remember the kits we built as kids, no matter what age you are, and you always have a fondness or kind of a nostalgia for that period, right? That's why we always grab those, and then maybe crappy kits or whatever, but it's still fun to build, and you kind of you idolize it, and you kind of think about, fantasize, I would do this to improve it, or I would correct these details, or I whatever, right? And to see like hundreds of boxes of these, like, fairly rare things, it's pretty awesome and it's a really interesting story that they posted there about the discovery, the sort of the origin of this massive stock of stuff, and then kind of what's happening with it. So it's pretty cool. It really caught my eye. I mean, I've got a couple old kits, and they are fun. One I gave to you, right? You had
and it was an absolute blast. It was fantastic. I still got a little bit more weathering to do on it, but but like, you know what? I'm just going through the guy's site here, and the pricing's not bad at all. He's got a IMAI Macross the Destroyed Monster 1/200 scale for like $20.
Yeah, and that's a good price for that.
You can't go wrong at all. Yeah.
Like they're good kits. They were really good
for their time.
Yeah, engineered kits for the mid 80s, and they're probably still fun to build. Yeah. But there's new kits coming out all the time that are a little bit more price point, but they're better engineered, they're better accuracy, they're better features, whatever. So, but it's a perfectly great project to have on your table, and they get repopped too, and they're not unreasonably priced. I mean, it sort of depends, right? If they get to kind of fall into collectors' hands a little bit, there's some resellers that jack up the prices, but I think for the most part, these are fun things to get, and an original pressing sometimes are a little crisper, right? They're a little sharper.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Because I'm thinking back, I'm just looking in ScaleMates here, see if I can find a year. And like 1982. The Destroyer was 82? 83, wow. Sorry, 83.
Okay, that sounds
they had one in 160th. Right. But yeah, as you said, they've done a new box. Bandai Spirits just released one last year. That same kit, exactly.
Same kit, new boxing, because they just let them, they do a run, sell them out, let it sit for a couple years, and then they do a repop, right?
It goes back in the Disney vault, kids.
That's the formula. And Bandai does that.
Oh, I'm going to leave this tab open, Anthony. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, but it's a really neat time capsule to kind of somebody's golden era of models. Look, mine. I was a little kid, so these were like the holy grail things, right? Yeah. So it's neat to see. Just a fascinating story, and I think there's been other similar stories too, like people finding like Verlinden stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like another kind of well-known guy that really, really excited modelers and did some neat stuff, and then kind of like just went away, right? So then you find something, and it's kind of that. Oh, I remember how fun I felt, right?
This is so cool.
Interesting story, anyway. But any more Macross goodness.
More. We love when you come and show us Macross goodness.
Yeah.
We can never get enough Macross. At least I can. Okay, great little segue there, because we're talking Macross. Because you know what? We're also sponsored by those Australian kids, Brett and Chrissy at Return to Kit Form. Make sure you check out their website. You're looking for Macross stuff, newer stuff.
Oh, awesome store.
Check these guys out. Not to mention their mask sets.
The mask sets are
just beautiful. Yeah,
Chef's
just
kiss.
beautiful. Yep,
Chef's
we love him. You also get to see what he's building. Whatever he builds always puts me to shame.
He's
He's awesome. He's a great builder. He knows his stuff.
He goes all the way.
Yeah,
Brett is inspirational.
Yeah, he's been doing some great stuff. So make sure you check them out as well at return2kitform.com, and you can tell them the Scale Model Podcast sent you. All right. As always, more modeling podcast goodness. You can check out some of our other friends, not just like what we had in the interview with the Plastic Model Mojo, but other model podcasts as well at modelpodcasts.com. Always seems to be a couple of new ones. I think we're up to 9 or 10 now. There's a lot of podcasts out there. It's good. Always leave us a positive review. We're also on Facebook. I'm doing more video to YouTube now. I'm putting segments, like audio segments with some pictures. I'm just starting to play around with that on YouTube. And of course, our very own website, scalemodelpodcast.com. That's where you get to see all the links, all the pictures of the awesome things Terry does, Anthony does, Jeff does, and occasionally I throw one in. I sneak one in if no one's looking. So, all right. Anything else, gentlemen, before we leave for the holidays, and wish everyone the best of the season, of course, from everyone
Merry
here.
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Merry Festivus, whatever.
Yeah, great.
You're good? All right. Well, I hope the family enjoys the birds, Terry. They look great.
Yes. Thanks.
All right. So, on behalf of the Scale Model Podcast, my name is Stuart Clark.
I'm Anthony Goodman.
I'm Terry Measley, reminding you this holiday season to spend some quality time with your kits.
Excellent. See, genius. Every time. Genius.
Love it.
Thank you, and be well.